Hello and welcome to the Coffin Lounge. I'm your host, VampireKitten, and today I have with me Twigg. Just Twigg. How are you? How are you, Twigg?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
What I do. So, professionally speaking, I am an electrician that does a lot of things. Um, and then I moonlight as a aspiring DM for like the last 10 years, I guess I've been
Okay.
DMing. And then I also currently, right now, I am in the midst of preparing to take our camp to Burning Man. So I am a theme camp organizer along with my partner uh, for Burning Man.
When we had met, it was Burning Man 2019?
Ooh.
2018?
Were you there in 2018?
I might have been.
I
I can't remember. I think it was
2018.
2018. So Burning Man 2018, you and I met. That was a crazy year because I think that was like the 75 person camp year with Lip Balm. Right.
It's 100. 2018 was like 50, and then 2019 was like 100.
Oh, 100. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
underestimating, I guess. 100 people camp. I think that's when we met.
I feel like we hung out a lot that year.
Had you gone to the burn before that year? I mean, obviously, probably, I'd say yes. But how long have
So
you been going to Burning Man?
so my first burn was in 2013. And then I had about a 5-year hiatus where I couldn't go. My partner Noelle did a really cruel thing to me, where she took me, and I was at the time I was a pretty square, normal looking individual. Like, just say it, just kind of boring.
Right.
And then she decides, she's like, okay, you would like this thing. And I was like, sure, hippies in the desert dancing. Yeah, you're super cute. I'll go with you and your friends to the desert and do that thing.
Ruined you.
And I, well, yeah, she definitely shepherded me. Like, she took care of everything. She made sure that I was prepared. Like, I really had like the golden ticket as far as being Sherpa to the playa. And then I got there, and it changed my life in a lot of ways that I did not expect. And then she was like, okay, well, I'm going to nursing school, and nursing school starts right before burn. So there's no way I'm going to be able to go to burn while at nursing school. So you could go, but you have to go without me. I was like, well, that's not going to happen. So I took like 5 years off and didn't come back till 2018. And like spent a
Okay.
lot of August like crying watching Burning Man videos.
I get FOMO too every single year. I rewatch every single year. It's the places we'll go, and then I cry because that's my favorite Burning Man video. And then
Mhm.
like I live vicariously through, is it like 24 hours of Burning Man? Tex is his name, I think.
Yeah,
Vicariously through
Mark
that.
Mark
Uh
Day's video. He just put out
or
the
oh,
new
Mark
one.
Day. Mark Day. I don't know why I don't know why I said Tex. Mark Day, yeah.
Mhm.
And then all of the Kickstarter projects. I actually backed one this year because I was like, I need something from Burn this year. So I did
Yeah.
that. I can't remember what project it was. It was really cool though. I'll have to look it up. But I've been going since 2012. And I've been off and on, maybe I've been 7 or 8 years. I can't even remember at this point. And from what I hear last year, did you go last year?
Oh yeah.
Last year was particularly hard. Did you go to Renegade too?
I did not go to Renegade because I'm up in the Great White North, so crossing the border was not really an option.
Right. That's right. Okay. I had the opportunity to go, but I was going through some life stuff and I just felt like it wasn't appropriate to go. But okay. So now that we're out of COVID and we're going, what's your grand plan?
My grand plan to for going to the burn,
Yeah.
um, continue on the Burning Man camp. That's right now we're like deep into prep mode. We've got like this weekend and one more weekend, and then since we all both work full time, we have some nights. But yeah, just prepping and herding all the little Burning Man kittens to make sure that they've got their tickets and the virgins are really actually prepared and all that stuff. So lots of like communications online and all that stuff. That's what we're doing right now. But get down there and then set up, relax, and run a Burning Man nerd bar.
Can you explain a little bit about it's level up, right?
Yeah.
So there are a handful of Burning Man, like, I guess, geek camps. There's Captain Pumped Raiders. There is oh gosh, what's the one I'm thinking of?
Probably Nightcrawler.
No, there's another one. Atomic Wasteland or Atomic Family. They're kind of one. But there's not a lot. There's only like a couple. So what is going to make yours, what's going to set yours apart from like everybody? Or are you just trying to do something similar?
So no, one of the things that Lip Balm taught me while I was there was like running a bar at Burning Man is awesome. I don't even drink that much personally speaking, but like running a bar at Burning Man is just a good time. You get to socialize with everybody. You get to like, you know, parrot some of the principles like a cultist. And so we have a couple of theme days specifically, but generally speaking, we're just a nerd bar. So like on my day, I do a D&D theme day, and we have the bar set up. I have a massive baseball sized D20, and I will roll or have the player come up to the bar, roll the D20, and then based on the roll, I will DM you a drink.
That's
and then we'll
cool.
have a conversation.
That's amazing.
It's pretty good.
That's a good idea.
Another during D&D day, I also do a incredibly judgmental character build with people that come.
Okay.
So what I like to do is I get a character sheet, and if I'll have them roll some d6s for ability points, and then I'll ask them some like really personal questions. Usually I preface it like, this is going to be very personal. Like, you know, what's your relationship with your mother like? You know, how do you make your money? Or are you a corpo stooge? Are you a hippie? Like, are you adventurous in the bedroom? Like really personal stuff. And then based on my own personal biases and what I think that stuff means, being, you know, me, I will decide what race, class, and subclass you are. And then depending on how many years you've gone to burn, you'll get a level per year. And then I'll assign your ability points. Then I'll pass the sheet across and be like, you are a dragonborn paladin of, you know, of vengeance, and you're level 6, and this is why, because you're prickly, you like to follow the rules, and you're incredibly boring in the bedroom.
Perfect. Are you planning on playing a game with these? Maybe have
no, I just gift them to people and be like,
That's
next time you play D&D, you have to play this character or I will find you.
That's actually really fun. If I got a gift like that, like somebody built a character for me based off of my probably terrible life skills, I would definitely play that character. All right, so are you doing like board game nights? Are you doing well, okay, actually, let's go back. Let's talk about Lip Balm a little bit, because we didn't. Lip Balm was my camp it was my only camp for, gosh, how long did Lip Balm go on? 5 years?
No, I was only there for the last, well, in 2018 and 2019. I wasn't there for 2022.
And basically, we were a post-apocalyptic like camp where it was all Tank Girl inspired, and it's super cool. How did you find Lip Balm?
So after my 5-year hiatus, and I'm like, I'm going back to the playa finally. Me and Noelle were just going to go on our own and go into open camping, and then I saw one of the camp's ads for, hey, we're looking for campers, and did a little bit of research, and like Tank Girl fits Noelle pretty close to a T. And I was like, there's nothing wrong about this. Like, I like the attitude. I like the vibe here. Let's go for it. So I messaged them and talked to the leaders and did a very brief interview, and then was like, sure, and dove headlong into it. I did a lot of electrical the first year. Because there was not a lot. There wasn't, not that there wasn't like love or like there just wasn't anybody to do the electrical, and the camp had a lot of electrical needs. Like there was I think the first year there was a dozen RVs running on a generator in the desert for like 7 days.
Massive. It's the
Yeah.
biggest generator I
So
think I've ever seen.
yeah, she's a noisy bugger, which
Oh
is
yeah, she is.
got a lot of heat. Got a lot of heat from other camps around us about that. But we made some changes to make that a little bit less noisy, and so that we could squeeze a little bit more juice out of the thing. Because the following year when we had this huge bomb factory stage burlesque slash bar with all the programmed DMX lighting and all that, it sucked
Right.
a lot of juice.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. It was cool
We had to
though.
keep the ring pops cold, so
Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing I'd ever been part of at Burn. And I don't think like a lot of people that haven't been before understand the amount of work that goes into it. That year with the big stage and stuff, I was out there for 14 days. That's a
yeah.
long time with no running water. Like
Yeah.
it's not an easy feat. It's a really it's a hardship, but it's satisfying in that it's kind of disciplinary in a way. You push yourself to a limit and a boundary and you're like, okay, this is what I can handle. And it's cool learning that stuff about yourself. But at the same time, it's hard work. Like people think that it's just like this big party. They have no idea the amount of stuff that goes into it. Like there's people out there right now just mapping out the city. They're
Mhm.
doing all of the infrastructure. The Golden Spike goes in and that's in July?
I think it was
Late
the
July?
beginning of this month.
Oh,
I think I
August.
reposted their thing. Yeah, I think it was the beginning of August. I know I think they've got all of the like insane. It's like 25 kilometers or something of moot fence or something insane.
Mhm.
And they're doing the streets. The temple crew's there. I just saw a post from the temple crew for some like size context. The temple came on the back, like full size tractor trailer trucks, flat decks, 12 flat deck trucks worth
Wow.
of prefab sections of the temple. And they think that this year, this temple is going to be very popular because of some of the issues with last year's temple, but they have like 100 volunteers coming down like 2 weeks early to assemble this thing. So, like, a decent sized construction site will be working in
Oh wow.
possibly the harshest climates that North America has to offer
This
for like,
well, we're going through
20, 25 days.
major heat wave too. That's
Yeah.
it's gonna be pushing 110 every day. So I don't know what that translates to Celsius, but it's hot.
Very hot.
um,
Effing hot.
but stay cool, stay hydrated. People need to pace themselves. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Hmm.
Like if you're gonna drink, be aware, like listen to your body. It is so important. Like as we go through this sort of podcast, I'm kind of trying to explain a little bit because a lot of people haven't either heard of Burning Man or have heard about it but don't understand like what goes into it and the amount of hardships you do have to face being in the desert for that long period of time. I grew up in the desert, so like I'm so used to that dry heat, being hot, monitoring myself, listening to my body, but a lot of people aren't. Like there was one year everybody was dropping like flies and I just started bringing with me like a ton of pickles and a ton of electrolytes and a ton of just like coconut waters and just handing them to people that were just obviously too messed up to continue. Like if you start arguing with your partner or you feel like angry and you're upset and you don't know why, it's because you're not drinking enough water usually. So this temple of the heart, this is massive.
Right?
Is this like
I'm excited.
so I'm looking at this, I can't tell
That's
if
just
this
the
is
temple.
yeah, this is just a temple and you
It's
can see
just
the
the temple.
size. I can't tell if this is like a bridge or not, but it's massive and it's very cool. This
I
is
think one of the
exciting.
first things that struck me when I hit playa the first time in 2023, it was in the middle of the night and we were all exhausted. And me and Noel pitched a tent and then went to sleep. And me being like a trades guy, I wake up like 6 o'clock on the dot every day. Sun hits the tent, it starts getting warm. It's 6 o'clock. I get out of the tent and I put on what I thought were party clothes. So like some sort of patterned shorts and a t-shirt and probably a bucket hat. And I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go pee, and I walk out to the road, and this fluffy duck of a school bus rolls by. Like somebody had taken a full-size school duck, peeled off the roof, put a bar and a stage and like probably a stripper pole or something, but covered it in like what looked like, yeah, like fur or yellow, some variety, and it's rolling past nice and slow with the music blaring, and these people are like, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. The sun is now coming up, and people are like just having the best time of their life, and I'm like, what? Fuck, like the idea that somebody would even spend the money or the time to convert a bus to do that and then fill it with people that were going to party until the morning just like could not
You,
compute to
you know
my
they were
like early
partying the night
20s
before.
brain. Oh yeah,
No,
no, it was an
that
all-nighter
was
for sure.
the
They're probably
that
headed
was the
home.
walk of shame home. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I get like see this and I'm pretty sure I didn't go pee. I like totally forgot. Ran back to the tent. I'm like, Noelle, get up. And she's like a veteran burner. This is like her
Right.
third burner. I'm like, get up. There's a rubber duck outside. She's like, yeah. Go away. I'm so tired. Like, get up. There's a bus and it's a duck. She's like, oh my God, there's gonna be so many more ducks. Just relax. And she was not wrong. Like,
It's
just
amazing.
the scope of what people will do for this 1 week and how like it also like these projects and the size of them and the effort that they're putting in like subtly communicates the importance of this thing to people
Hmm.
and like being able to do this thing because people get like I don't know about you but I get like emotionally tied up in that city for sure. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
the only place I cry all year.
I have feelings. I'm in my feels all week, and I'm typically in my feels. I'm a pretty emotional person, but when I'm at Burn or thinking about Burn, I just get knots in my stomach, I think. And I think what it is it's Burning Man's changed my life. Like you had mentioned, you were just some random dude before. Burning Man changes you as a person. Like if you fully participate and you work and you immerse yourself in the city infrastructure, I think that you learn so much about not only yourself, but what you can do for the world as a whole and what kind of person you can be outwardly outside of the burn. The 10 principles are super duper important. And I think that they're a really good baseline for like life as a whole because they've made me be a better person for sure. Like I just think that going to burn has made me a better person and made me want to like participate with other people in my local, neighborhood and my local scene and just really create and make art and make people laugh and make people have some sort of feels. I feel like it's important. There's not a lot of that in the world, especially these days with like everything going on. Like we've gone through so many once in a lifetime chaotic what feels like post-apocalyptic events in the last like 10 years that it's just like I can be this beacon in other people's lives and hopefully change them too and make them happier. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I feel coming out of the burn. I don't know if it's the same for you, but
So during COVID we knew we weren't going to go to the burn. It got canceled. I had my fifis about it. I threw a tantrum in my Jeep when I had to cancel the camp because we were ready to do the camp
right.
the year COVID hit. I was just like just waiting to pull the pin to buy a bunch of stuff and all that and like take in camp dues and whatnot. It wasn't going to happen. This just wasn't going to happen. We knew we were going to have a huge gap in our schedule and nicely, some money. So we're like, we're gonna buy a house. So we ended up buying this house that year. And during burn week, we're like, well, we got to do something. And we had moved, I think we had been in this house like 20 days. And the first thing how we got to know our neighbors was I took some scraps of wood that I had and some metal and made a 2-foot man and then made a little metal pan.
I saw the
Did you see
pictures.
this?
It was so cute. It actually made me so happy.
So Krista phoned the fire department. We're like, what are the rules? And we made sure we were compliant. I had a hose, I had fire extinguisher. And then there was an online thing where people could drive by and see the man burn. And we burned him. And our neighbors are like very normal human being neighbors.
They're like, what are we getting ourselves into with these people that just moved
so like,
in?
Burned a man in the driveway. And we're like, no, it's okay. We have a permit. We have a permit. Come. Let us tell you about our cult that we are currently having feelings about.
Oh, what did they think?
Thankfully, a lot of them took it really well, and they asked a lot of questions. There was, as with normal human beings, there was a little bit of judgment and like that sounds weird and stuff. But
Were you guys in
nobody called the
costumes?
cops. Oh fuck yeah, absolutely. I like, like actually, I'm wearing my Galaxy tights right now, but I was probably in these and like a fur jacket covered in lights, having like a light tear. In my driveway burning this human figure, this small gnome.
So nobody called the cops, thankfully.
Nobody called the cops. I made a big show of like having a hose and like spraying the concrete so that we weren't going to leave burn marks in my brand new driveway. So it went over really well. We made people some drinks at the bar, and they thought we were weird, and that was the tip of the iceberg because now we have like
Now
the
you've set
Burning
your
Man trailer in the driveway. There's like an overstuffed wingback chair that I rescued from a dump that looks really good on Ply. It's like the quintessential wingback chair with like grandma's rose print on it, and it's in the driveway right now.
Well, at least you set the bar. You set the
Yeah,
standard for what they were going to expect.
that set the tone for sure.
For sure. I hope you're like your friends, or they just put up with you?
I sometimes like we'll sit down and have a drink and like have a chat. So I don't know. I don't know if I call us friends. We're
Acquaintances that
definitely
they
on
don't
positive
hate.
terms.
Good.
Yeah, we haven't discovered any Karens out there. And we're on speaking terms. If they have a
Nice.
problem with like, hey, can you turn down your intense EDM music? I'm like, oh yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Your kids are going to bed. Yeah, we should probably turn that down while we're working on the trailer.
Right.
Stop using a grinder in the driveway after dark.
So, okay. Now that we're talking about a little bit about things that we've brought, what have you brought back from the playa to your real life? Obviously, your mini man burned during COVID, but what else have you done in real life with other people that are obviously not burners? Like, what have they experienced with you?
Oh, I mean, I like focusing on the 10 principles. So I saw initially in my first year, some of them hit home like really hard because I grew up in a family where there was one way to live a life and there was one way to do things. There was the right way and the wrong way, and if it was the wrong way, it was like, oh well, that's weird. That's a weird way of doing things. So radical inclusion hit home really hard. I tried a conscious effort to try not judge people right off the bat. It's like so much of what goes on, and some of it is like our own like human instincts, and some of it's like stuff that we've been socialized and taught and stuff. But like trying not to judge somebody based on my first 10 seconds meeting them, right?
Right.
Like, and trying to be open to, yeah, they might be living a life that's different than mine. I have a really weird life, so I really shouldn't judge, but they might be living a life that's a little bit off the beaten path, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like wrong or that I should look down on it anyway. So that one hit home super hard. Um, really like, really like gifting,
I do
like
too.
not for Christmas. Like I actually don't like giving Christmas gifts or like birthday gifts and stuff. But when I find something that just speaks to me of someone, the joy that it's kind of a selfish thing, like getting that thing and giving it to them and telling them the story about that thing brings me so much joy. And I was not aware of that. Gifting for me was like you go and you find your dad a new tool for the garage. You get your mom soap because she's a woman and she takes baths. And I was like, this is stupid. But like out on the playa, people were like, yeah, you should have this. And
Right.
I
In that moment, they've
pretty
decided that this belongs to you and that they want to give it to you, and that is such a cool thing. Like, receiving gifts is awesome. I
yeah.
Speaking of gifts, I've started kind of like looping my candy, like raver gifts, into like but making them burner gifts. So I went to
Mhm.
interviews this year, which is the first regional that I've ever gone to, and I took a virgin with me. So it was a whole thing. I was a virgin Sherpa and also this was my first regional. And I was terrified of ticks because Interfuse is covered in ticks. Also, Interfuse is spoiled as fuck. They have running water and showers. Spoiled.
Regional, that too. I had a shower every morning at our regional. I was like,
I didn't even know
how good you have it.
I just like rinsed off in like at my tent. I didn't give a fuck, but like there was running water. I was like, oh cool. Well, I guess I'm just such a veteran burner that I don't need to take a shower today. But I started making candy that has tools on it. So I made a bunch of candy that had tick twisters on it, and it says "fuck ticks." You know, obviously because it's candy. Like bracelets. For those who don't know what candy is, bracelets are pony bead bracelets. Like,
Tell me you're a raver kid without telling me you're a raver kid.
Anyway, so I did fuck ticks and I made a bunch of tick twister candies, but I also am making these things called Utilicandy. And so they have chapstick, a flashlight, a glow stick, and something else on them. I can't even remember.
It's like very jangly.
It is, but I also put a clip on it so they can clip it on a backpack. It doesn't have to be worn. So it's like, so you're
like a raver kid, but like an Eagle Scout too.
Yeah.
Like, I like to party and be prepared.
Absolutely. So like, but people need that shit when they're partying. So I'm just like, the amount of people that do not have flashlights when they go into the porta potties is mind blowing. So I carry my flashlights. They're cookies. They're like little tiny cookie. I'll have to show you. I'll show you in a minute. No, but they're like cookie shaped and they're flashlights. They're like Oreo cookies. So I'm like, awesome. Here, have a cookie. And they go into the porta potty. They're like, oh, this is a fucking flashlight.
This makes this so much easier. I haven't fallen in yet.
So I've just like every time I see like glow sticks that are small or like tiny little flashlights and stuff, I constantly am buying them. And those are like my gifts to people. Even at non-burner events, like at raves, or even at just like festivals or something, people need that stuff. So I'm like, here, this is my gift to you.
It's a tough time going to festivals now because of the 10. This is how the 10 principles have ruined me.
Right.
Because like at 2:00 at last call or whatever, when they're shutting down the stage and the crowd filters off the stage and there's just this ocean of like plastic solo cups.
Oh yeah.
Like my skin gets to like crawl off my body. We have a couple events out this way that are like run off the back loading docks of breweries. And a lot of the event goers just know that they have a crew of 10 or 12 people that are going to go around with brooms and sweep them up into a pile and then throw all of this plastic away. And it drives me up the wall when I see Kevin or Chad or Karen reusable cup, right?
Bring your own cup.
Drink it and drop it on the ground. It drives me.
I pick that shit
bonkers.
up. I pick it up in front of them to. That's how shitty I am. I'm gonna throw this away for you. It's fine. I got it. You know, I'm that girl. Burner. I know. I'm that girl at the party that picks up the trash. God.
Beef no trace, baby.
When I see people smoking outside, I'm like, let me find you an ashtray. Let me find you an ashtray. It's terrible. I'm bad. But another thing that I brought home with me from Burn is I will use this cup for everything. And this cup travels with me now, like everywhere. Everywhere. Renaissance Fair. I will have my own cup. It's a little bit more themed, obviously, but like always have your own cup. Like that's even really camping trips. You've got to. They're so good.
I know.
Have you not been?
If not, so next year, I think next year, possibly the year afterwards, Krista and like me, like I don't have a sword. I need a sword. I have to have a sword.
Absolutely.
Really want to go to the one that's based in LA. Krista's been researching it.
Oh, that's the SoCal Pleasure Fair. That's the SoCal Pleasure Fair.
Yeah.
It is probably the naughtiest, raunchiest fair in the United States.
I'll fit right in.
Perfect. It is family friendly, but it is also one of the more aggressively sexy fairs that I've been to. I've been to its counterparts, the one in New York, super family friendly. Like it's not. The one in Northern California is pretty sexy, but it's not pleasure fair. I mean, it's pleasure fair. So
I
very
can do
good.
my best like half elf twink bard thing. I'm gonna have
You
to do
wear
a
a
lot of
crop
body
top
hair
and some
removal.
like little speedos. You're gonna be fitting right in. I'm telling
Boom.
you.
My
Boom.
my leather speedo.
Oh, right. Perfect. Excellent.
Yeah,
And then you got your sword on your back. Fit right in.
with just an absurdly big sword.
Oh yeah. It needs to be
Final
like
Fantasy
anime.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just 8 inches of steel, something that I physically couldn't pick up. It'll have to be on a phone, but
Perfect.
I would love to do that. I like we have taken to going to really like niche festivals like pre-COVID. Krista's a huge Harry Potter fan. Um, and that community has been hit hard for a variety of different
Right.
regions, you know. So like, do we go? Do we not go? Like, don't really want to support the turfness, but like the community, the Harry Potter nerds and Wizarding
It's
World
full of
nerds are,
everybody.
yeah. And I wasn't quite aware. So, are you familiar with LeakyCon?
I am. I know
Okay,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
Krista's driving passion was like she wanted to go to this thing. So we're like, okay. And the one in Boston was pre-COVID. She's like, we're going. And me and Noelle were like, okay, sounds like fun. Let's go. So we go down there, and it's hilarious because LeakyCon is like the queerest thing I've been to outside a Pride event. Just like there's like trans flags and pride flags and like all like bisexual flags all over the place over the whole event.
Have you
And
been
it was so
to
much fun.
have you been for a furry convention? Have you been to a fur con?
Uh, I have
Go.
not.
Just go at
I've
least once. They're wild.
we have two things to that. I have a friend that's a pretty big furry, and she's like, you have to go. Like furriers party harder than any other subculture I know. And I was like, bitch, please, I'm a burner. Like, she's like, no, you like, this is a lot of introverts that get like finally find a group of people that accept them and they can get all their kid on and they party really hard. I was like, okay, all right. And then out here, we have a theme camp called Dante's Inferno, which you're probably
I've been
familiar
there.
with.
They
Yeah.
were so sweet, but there was so much. Okay, there.
No,
How
go
do
ahead.
I nicely put this for the podcast? I saw more dicks in Dante's Inferno than I had seen on the playa ever.
Those fursuits are hot on the playa, man. Like,
They wear the paws, they wear the head or ears, and a harness. That's it.
that's it. It's like it's hard life being a furry on the playa. It's like, well, 110, 45, whatever,
Well, and Dante's Inferno
just like
it's air conditioned too. So
they try, but it's just like fabric. But
I
they're from
know.
Vancouver and they come to our regional, and they're like, when I talk to the American members of our running camp and talked about this, they are the coolest crew. They found a whole pack of them with their ears when they were away from Dante's Inferno, found our bar 2 years running at our regional, and they're like, oh my god, there's more nerds here. I'm like, of course there's more nerds. And they were rolling dice, and we were talking about D&D and all sorts of stuff, and our so down here, Dante's Inferno crew has something they refer to as the kitty cannon. Now, Canadian furries, as I've learned, are hardcore.
What is the kitty cannon?
Okay, so it's two like shoulder mounted. They must be 5 foot long propane flamethrowers.
Okay.
They're kitty, like they're Hello Kitty themed, and it takes two people to operate one of them. One of them holds it like a World War II bazooka on their shoulder and works a crank that lets the propane out. Another one follows them with a propane tank on like a tube. Um,
Amazing.
and like we have seen flamethrowers on the playa. We've seen big flamethrowers.
Oh yeah.
Believe me when I tell you, these ones are like on the scale of Game of Thrones burning out an army. Kind of, so they are usually, this year we didn't burn anything, but the year before they were responsible for starting the effigy fire, and they stood like 45 feet away and roasted that thing, like a traitor to the realm. Just cooked that effigy like nobody's business. They were terrifying. I was sitting next to a now contractor for the Navy that does specifically like weapons training, and he was losing his gut at how dangerous these things were. He was like, I've seen some dangerous shit. This is ridiculous. They're dripping burning propane out of some of the valves as they get cold and stuff, and they're like, whoosh. Like, Canadian furries are not to be fucked with. They are awesome.
The more you know.
The more you know. Do not fuck with Canadian furries. And like, yeah, like you were saying, it's hot on playa, so they got to gear down. But they are
how they do it. They are
their tent,
different breed.
Their tent is
for
always
sure.
Got good vibes, always got good music, and they have like a 20 by 40 cuddle puddle in the back for yipping.
Yiffing.
Morning.
Yeah,
yiffing.
It's okay. I mean, I'm sure private cuddle puddle for yiffing. Semi-private.
It was inclusive.
Speaking of which, since now we've segued into the kink side of things, let's talk about kink. Look, we got a segue somehow.
Yeah, that was
Found
smooth
it.
like butter. I like that. So my kink career is long and so
long and hard.
Long and hard.
Sorry, you kind of set yourself up for that
one. Got into the kink scene in like the mid 2000s out here, and as a young 20-year-old cisgendered white male, you go and you buy a flogger and you buy a leather kilt and you do lots of spinning stuff and you get to flaunt your ego and stuff in public. And it was kind of it all kind of happened in the same time when me and my now wife met our partner Noelle, and she was kind of our segue because she's the crazy pants. She is the tank girl. She is our manic pixie dream girl for sure. And went into the scene and got deep into that. So for like 10 years, we were running parties and teaching classes and assisting in running parties, and traveled a little bit to do teaching and all of that stuff. So I've tried and done a lot of things. I feel like I was at the Lip Balm bar. I was the kinky dude with the paddle at the end of the bar.
Mm-hmm. The Wheel of Misfortune. You did a number of spankings that year.
It was a good time.
Countless.
I was very happy to see that was all part of the package.
My friends, they do this thing where they cattle prod you, they dunk your head in water, and then they make you shotgun a beer. And I'm just like, none of that sounds fun. But like, people are into that.
Do you remember on the Wheel of Misfortune, there was lick a neighbor's or lick a stranger's armpit?
Yeah. Did anybody do that? Because
really?
I didn't see any of that. I was working the bar, and I was always all the way at the end, so I wasn't even near the wheel half the time. I missed all of that fun.
I feel like this is going away from kink and back to burn, but either way,
it's they kind of go hand.
For those that don't know, you spin the wheel and it lands on a number, and that number correlates to a chalkboard that kind of changes on the regular. But certain things were on there for sure, like get spanked, take a shot, lick a stranger's armpit.
This is all consensual, by the way. I would like to preface that.
Absolutely. You got a little... There was like some light like hazing if you wouldn't do things, but it is consensual. Nobody's forced to do anything. You can always walk out the door. Right. Always an option. And there was plenty of us around to try and gauge consent because, groups, mob mentality, you don't want to push somebody into having a bad
lots of
experience.
Drinking, and, you have to kind of keep an eye on all that stuff. Safety third.
Yeah.
I mean, first.
So you spin the wheel. It lands. We had I saw personally at least a dozen people land on lick a stranger's armpit. Not once did I see it turn down.
No.
This is
And
at
these are
night,
some
so it's gotten cooler.
stinky ass hippies in the dust,
Days
in the dirt.
5, 6, 7.
Most of them not wearing deodorant.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
definitely
I
some
think,
people's kink. Because there's
but
no
these were like
reason why you would do that.
there was
Unless it was like a super dare. Like, I dare you. I dare myself. Let's take
it never got turned down. These were some normal, like these were normal.
They
There
were
was
there to
some
party.
virgins in there for sure.
They were there
Like
to
there was,
party.
they were there to party. There was some, we call them sparkle ponies, where they look really pretty and they're
And
all put
clean.
together in what is plain, clean, quintessential, usually like a white lace bodysuit and some like silver temporary tattoos and some sort of like bedazzled goggles and high platform boots, like your quintessential Burning Man stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they would do it to some like big long-haired greasy beard dusty kilted like
His
punk boy across the
his
street that actually
pit
set
arm
the
hair
city
has
up.
been sticking out for 4 days. You could braid it.
Totally will do it because they are at Burning Man, and that apparently this is what you do
Challenge.
at Burning Man.
Yep. I'll remember it forever. So let's get back to the kink. What kind of workshops and stuff have you run?
So I did a lot of DS stuff because I very much enjoy DS based relationships. There is actually some controversy around what BDSM stands for.
Right.
But for the most part, if you go with bondage, domination, and then sadomasochism, that's what that stands for. Whereas, like when somebody says DS, they usually mean dominant, submissive relationships.
Okay.
And the broad strokes means that one person is in control and one person answers to that person, and it's specifically designed to have a power imbalance.
Right.
And so the psychological end of things and the very formal structure of relationships and that sort of thing for a long time really appealed to me. So I did a lot of that, and then we did a lot of classes on like adding poly to that or doing poly separate to that. And then I did a lot of like interrogation style scene workshops and a lot of impact play stuff. I really like bloggers are good. My favorite probably go to is Kane's.
And do you still teach workshops?
Not really. We our kink scene here in Victoria got didn't get it. I think we got tired of a lot of the drama because with the DS dynamic and a lot of people engaging in that, you get a lot of ego that gets fed. So, and I'll be very straightforward. There's a lot of like cisgendered males that got treated like master and started thinking that they were everybody's master, and all of these egos got tied up into it. So there was a lot of drama. So we like pulled away a little bit, but now we have like a close group knit of friends that are still in the scene, and just play with them, generally speaking. But we did teach DS stuff and a lot of poly stuff because that's a big thing that we're known for in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we might be one of the longest running triads on the island for sure.
I was going to say in the area.
In the local area. I don't know how far, but I don't know any other ones that are still going.
So, are you planning on teaching any workshops at your camp?
No, just lessons. Been a bad burner. Spec. No formal lessons per se. I really enjoy running the bar. This year, me and Noelle have kind of like given a lot of the days off to our virgins and our campers, so we get a few more days off. So I'm possibly hoping to go out onto the playa and take a few lessons. Last year we got one day off, so we actually went to Nightcrawler camp did some drinking and did the playa RPG. We didn't get very far, but it was a lot of fun. So, but there is a very light plan in the making that sometime in the future we might have a nerd village.
I feel like that's necessary.
It's a lot of nerd in one spot.
Yeah, but that's awesome.
And
Can you imagine you all getting
so
together and
much
playing like
social anxiety.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is also true. But that's why,
Okay,
you know what? Nerds that drink, oh my gosh, they want to party. Let me tell you, I've been to a number of CESs and E3s, and these people never go out. When they go out hard. And I'm like, you guys that's too intense for me. Like, you guys have your one night. I need to pace myself. I got work in the morning.
It's like a snowball effect. I feel like once you've got the extrovert and you're like, get those first couple of snowball rolls past the social anxiety and you're a
They're
little
fine.
socially lubricated, you're just like, and then by the end of it, it's like tearing itself apart. It's so big.
Right.
You get going.
But it would be cool to have a nerd village, like, honestly. I think that it is kind of, at this point, I feel like a lot of people play even just board games, you know? And
I think that like there was that like kind of hipster renaissance of board games where people were like, still there's tons of people that are like, I'm downsizing my board game collection, but they have like hundreds of different these like very niche genre board games and that come out all the time. And I think that segued into the renaissance of D&D and like Pathfinder, because all those kids that like, I don't know what it was like for you, but like when I was 12, 13, I played D&D with like my buddy's dad because he had known how to play, but we didn't have any money. Like just getting a set of dice was like, I had to go to the comic book shop and then they may or may not have them. And now like nerds like myself,
kid.
nerds like myself have like adult incomes. I have disposable income. So like I have a whole wall of miniatures. I have a couple of hundred miniatures. I have like paints. I have all my fake terrain and like boards and stuff in all over the place. For a while there, I had a set of semi-precious stone ice. No reason. Just because they were awesome.
They're awesome.
So I think it's and I think it's exploded. I think
oh, definitely.
Sort of reconnection of and the like the social aspect of like board games and playing our tabletop RPGs and stuff has like,
I think that's the most important part is the communication, because like while you can play these things online, I think getting together at like your local bar or even your friend's house or whatever is a piece of society that we're kind of missing. Everybody's kind of gone indoors since COVID, and even then they weren't really socializing that much, and now people are like craving that socialization. So I think that there has been kind of like a resurgence, but also like during COVID, all we had was board games, and we evolved in that we could play D&D through webcams now. I mean, you DM through a webcam, right? So
I was running at the height of COVID. I was running three weekly games.
Wow, that's a lot. And
they
were all different content or the same content?
They're all 5e. Because I'm specialized in 5e. I've only recently started like getting out of 5e and trying other things, but they were all 5e. And there was the Burning Man crew that wanted to play D&D, and most of them had never played D&D, so I ran a game for them. And then there was my weekly Sunday game that had been running for 4 years that then migrated online. And then I ran a corporate office game too for people inside my giant corporation that wanted to play D&D, that were all like electricians or adjacent
That's
staff.
Cool. So you had mentioned that you were in a triad. A lot of people call that a throuple nowadays. Is it what do you consider is the
I'm
right
not sure that
phrasing?
I'm not super up on the poly. I'm a bad poly person. I'm not up on the on
You're
the
just
grammar
living your
per
life.
se. I'm busy doing it. This for me, it's the same thing. I'm not sure if there is an actual technical difference. There is 3 of us in a relationship. We are all equal partners in the relationship. We all date each other. We own a house together. We have a dog. The dog was the ceiling deal. We can't. It's like
That's your
we can't
baby.
break up now. Yeah,
Right.
fur baby. It just can't. Um, we travel together. We party together. Like, um,
Do
yeah.
so you said you were the longest running.
I'm aware of. I'm
How
not going to
long
claim. I'm not going to put the crown on
how long have
myself
you
just
all
yet.
been
But
together? That's hard.
we're closing on definitely past the first decade. We're probably closing on 15 years. It's like it's kind
That's
of
cute.
it's hard to
It's
put a
set in
time
stone at this
stamp on
point.
it. We know that we officially set our thruple or
Triad.
triad date as April Fools. So we
Cute.
celebrate every year on April Fools. Um, but it's hard to put a date. It's at
How
least 12 years.
so how did you get into that? Like how did you just decide, oh, we need a third?
That accidentally. Actually, it's Noelle's fault, really. So, for context, um, I am legally married to Krista, and we initially started dating, like back in our early 20s in a very small town in the Rockies. And then later on, when we moved here, I met Noelle on a construction site, and she kind of, without us being realizing, kind of like worked her way into our relationship. And it was a
She said, "Oh,
very,
I'm gonna be part of this."
she later on, she admitted, she's like, yeah, I'm way more into couples than I am like single people. And we're like, well, you manipulate us? Did you just gaslight us into a positive relationship? What the fuck? She there was a very distinct point where Noelle, technically, when we started hanging out and going to kink events together, she was technically in a relationship with somebody else. And then she had a very big, it was kind of an open, negotiated, open type situation. And she had a pretty tough breakup. And she decided that she was going to go away. She was going to take some time off. And then there was a point where she's like, "Okay, I'm going to go live with my mom rent free, and I'm going to work at this job as a carpenter, and I'm going to bank as much money as possible so I can come back and do nursing school. That's what I want to do." And we're
That's
like, "Okay,
healthy.
that sounds good." And then we drove her to the airport in my little like mini truck. And there was a point where we dropped her off at the airport and we're driving away. And this was it burned into my memory that like Krista was crying and I was like tearing up and we are both having like feels. Didn't really understand what it was. And I was like, I turned and looked at Krista and I was like, "Are we dating Noelle?" She's like, "What? We can't date another person. We can't do that." And
But
she's like
you
crying in the
did.
passenger. Yeah. And I was like, I was like, I'm pretty sure we already are. And then
Right.
that kind of started the conversation. And then,
Okay.
like I do, I hyper focus on things
Right.
and went deep into the learning.
And now you guys just are so healthy and positive. Okay, positive.
Absolutely. That's 100% true. Um, I think we are.
I mean, 15
I'm
years
happier than
stands
I've ever
for
been.
something.
We've outlived a lot of marriages that we know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And COVID was
But
hard for everybody because it was just
yeah,
like,
we saw,
I think everybody split up during COVID. They either got
well, when
super
you're
strong and super tight, or they were just like, divorce.
instantly, you know, this situation where like most people were working from home or weren't unemployed and there was nowhere to go and there was nothing to do other than like walk the dog and hike.
Mm-hmm.
So you were forced into a 24/7 social relationship with the partner that you had chosen pre-COVID, whatever that situation was. So like it's hard to get two human beings to want to cohabitate 24/7 and spend 24 hours a day with each other with little to no break. That's a really high bar to clear just to begin with.
Right.
Let alone like add kids, dog, mortgage, life stress, the
Losing
downfall of Western
jobs.
society. Yeah, all
Right.
of that stuff on top of it is
Having
a
to
it's
fight
a
for
that's
toilet
tough.
paper.
Having to shiv a guy at Walmart for toilet paper is.
Fuck.
Would you do that for this partner you just happen to start COVID with? It's a high bar to clear.
Yeah. That's hard. It's rough. Like nobody expected that they were gonna have to do that, I think.
No.
And then I think that COVID, I always say that COVID is the best and the worst thing to happen to society because everybody's sort of aligned their goals and figured out exactly what they wanted in their lives, which is super important. Like, but the fact that you guys made it through that's phenomenal. Important.
We'll not toot our own flag. Well, fuck it, I'll toot our own flag. Fuck it. Ring that bell. We did quite well. A lot of people around us didn't do quite well. We did quite well. We came out with like a dog and a house, and we're financially stable, and that's.
Do you think it's because you had a third? Like, it wasn't just the two of you. It was like, hey, we have also this other person that we do care about, and there was a little bit of a different dynamic in socialization when this was all happening. So you could go, well, I'm fucking tired of you. Let me go spend time with this person. You know what I mean? Like, in the nicest way possible.
Like early on in our relationship, as soon as you add another person, a whole nother set of feelings, values, and like life to a relationship, it forces you to do a lot of communicating. Like, there's so many poly gurus like communication is key. It's not untrue. It is very true. You have to be able to like
talk to your
communicate.
partners.
You have to know yourself and be able to communicate that effectively, and then be willing to be wrong a lot. And I think that was a good tool to have going into COVID. It's like being able to say to your partner, like, you're not doing anything wrong, but you are irritating the living fuck out of me right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get a break from you. And they know that it's not that you don't love them. You're irritated. You need to go have a sandwich. You need to go for a walk.
Drink some water.
Drink some water.
Drink some water.
Drink some water.
So I know we keep going back to Burn. When I met you, you were just with Noelle.
Oh, I was with Krista at the time.
Were you with Krista as well? Well, no. I mean, like, on the playa. Was Krista on the playa?
Oh, yes. Physically, yes. No, Krista's never gone to Burning Man.
That's what I was wondering. I was going to say, wouldn't it help that you are burners and that there's a lot more openness in the burner community to sort of like survive hardships?
Yeah, there's definitely some tools. The only fights that me and Noelle have are like out on the playa. Historically there was 2 days. It was like Wednesday. We had been building and then we partied for like 4 days, and we had a fight about like. I think we might have been dehydrated. Yes, I was definitely hadn't eaten, and we had a fight over like nothing, and then we took 10 minutes apart, and I was like, I don't know what we're fighting about. Why are we fighting? We need to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this should be our down day. We'll just take a nice 24-hour break, reset. We've gone too hard for too long. We've done too many things. Now it doesn't happen because we are a little bit more cognizant of those telltale signs. But yeah, I think there's probably some burner tools that helped.
I think that's important too, because you just learn so much about yourself and your partner on the playa. And that's why I was wondering if you said, I was wondering if all three of you had gone before. Are you?
No,
so you said you're not planning to do all three of you?
So there was a time that me and Noelle were trying to convince Krista to go to Burning Man, and that was part of our plan. Was like, we'll do some of your hardcore nerd shit, and then you'll come and have to be invested in our thing. And so we did a lot of it. We went to LeakyCon, and then we went with her to New York to the Cursed Child,
right?
And did these things. And it was like, you should come to Burning Man. And then there was COVID, and we kind of came to. We did that last year at Burn. That was really, really hard. It was super dusty. The weather was really tough, and it was like.
There were so many virgins last year too, and they just did not. They were not prepared at all.
It was a rough year, and me and Noelle came to the realization that I wouldn't want to coerce somebody into going to this thing if it was going to be that bad.
Right.
If the sweet needs to be equally as sweet to the sour, otherwise she would just live in a trailer and want to go home the whole time. And I wouldn't want to put somebody in that situation. So we decided, if you want to go, we will support you and help you do that. She comes to regionals every year. She loves our regional.
Okay.
Yeah, she loves it.
That's fine. She's still a burner.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of regionals, I gotta tell you, I had not been to a regional before Interviews. And most of the people at Interviews had never been to Big Burn.
It's so much more accessible.
And it's wild to me that they all practice the principles. Like, they knew what was up. Yeah, I was talking to like people who had been burners for Big Burn for veterans for years, and they're like, "Oh, I've never been," and I'm like, "What?" Like, you guys are burners, you know? So like, just going to regionals does not invalidate you as a burner. It's a lifestyle choice. You know what I mean? And I think that people maybe don't understand that Big Burn's not the end all be all. There are tiny little groups. Like, I work with Boneyard. You know, Boneyard's this like little plot of land in the Arizona desert that a bunch of friends are just hippie communing on, and they throw parties every once in a while. Like, that is a burner society in itself. It's a community, you know, and it's just a community of people that actually genuinely give a shit about each other, like, at the end of the day, for the most part. I mean, there's always the little fuck your burn guys, but like, whatever.
It's the bar to getting out to the playa is so high because it's, you know, it's thousands of dollars. It's,
A lot of work.
you know, could be 2 weeks out of your schedule. That's 2 weeks you're not working. There's and just like keeping yourself alive and like giving people like
Yeah.
the bar is really high is so regionals are so much more practical. Like
It was
shower every
still a
day.
lot for being a regional. Like, you're camping for 4 days. It's still camping. It's still taking care of yourself and not dying out in the woods. And then it depends on the regional. It could be super cold. It could be super hot. It could be full of ticks.
Ours rains a lot, so we've
Oh,
didn't do a good job modifying the bar this year for rain. But like the first year, it was in like a little pop-up tent, and it turned into like a muddy goblin bar. Or like it was just a mud pit with a bar next to it, and our benches got covered in mud and all sorts of stuff. It was quite the thing. I also feel like I don't know what your regional is like, but
it rained a little.
People party really hard at regionals because it's over a weekend. So they cram all of their fun into like 2, 3, 4 days. So they're having a lot of fun the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas burn,
You space it
like
out and you take a break.
space it out. Like during the day, I let my body recover. Like I've been like you could dance for 12 hours until the sun comes up. So just like the physical wear and tear on your body is a lot. So I take a break during the day. You just rehydrate, maybe have a beer here and there, but like for the most part, like sober and healing during the day, and then you go out and do whatever you're gonna do at night. I feel like I party less hard at burn because the environment is so tough.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I have maybe one night at burn where I'm like, let's go. And then the rest of the time, I'm like, just want to chill. I just want to be here and absorb everything that's going on around me.
They're just like to take Wednesday off.
Yeah, Wednesday's a good day for that. And I actually like to party on Friday. I don't really like to party on Saturday. There's too many chads out there, and I'm just like, I get over it, like, stimulated by all of the fucking weekenders.
Last year was particularly tough. There was you could see them. For those that don't know, weekenders are people that buy a full, like, because you can only buy one ticket to Burning Man, which lets you in on Sunday afternoon, and then it's over Monday morning. Weekenders, people buy that full price pass and then come Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the main events. And generally speaking, they don't get the culture. They're just there to do Burning Man and look super awesome and party really hard with their friends. Usually really drunk. Usually really coked up.
They're usually
very aggressive.
Rude.
Really, this is all stereotypes and painting them with one brush, but they leave a lot of garbage around. We saw a huge escalation in the garbage just in the road in front of our camp on Friday night. When we got up Saturday morning.
Was bad last year. And for those who don't understand, moop means the matter out of place. It's the trash that people have to pick up for months afterwards. To make sure we can go back every year.
They're meticulous. So each camp, myself, theme camp organizers, we get a plot of land, do a bunch of applying, and when we get there, they give us a plot of land. Ours is by 100 by 150 feet deep. And we are responsible to make sure there is nothing there that was there before, that wasn't there before we got there. So even chips of wood, glitter, fake feathers are a big no-no. We pick absolutely everything up. When we rake that, it looks like a little meditation garden when we're done. We've raked it so thoroughly. And then we get After that, the organization goes in with a huge crew, and I don't even know how many square kilometers
I
it
think
is.
it's
It's
like,
like
aren't they
huge.
like elbow to elbow and they just walk in a line? It's
They do
wild.
the entire plot of land a couple of times again to make sure nothing's there, because otherwise the Bureau of Public Land Management won't let us come back.
And this is miles across. It's not a small plot of land. You're looking at
Where is it?
75,000 people usually yearly. And it's I know that if you do from one end to one end, it's at least 2 miles. It might be more than that.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of scale maps that are, I want to say, from corner to corner, it might be 5 miles.
Okay. I was thinking city width.
It's a long
It's
way.
massive. But that's a lot of manpower that it takes to clean up. And so the weekenders usually come. And last year, so I think what happened was everybody was on TikTok. And people were posting on TikTok. And they were like, Burning
God
Man's so
damn you,
great.
TikTok.
I know. Burning Man's so great. Look at all these things that I've done. Look at all of this cool stuff and cool art. And, so TikTok gets things out there a little bit more than there was. And there was nothing else going on. And everybody's like, oh, I want to go to Burning Man after COVID. Like, that's my goal. So then everybody went, and it was a bunch of virgins. And a lot of people couldn't even get tickets last year because it was just so many people trying to go. And it was probably one of the worst years in history as far as weather is concerned. Whiteouts every day, heat. People just couldn't hang with it that weren't used to it. So I know a lot of people aren't going back this year. That being said, tickets this year, there's so many.
There are a lot changing hands. Like historically, there's always the last 2 weeks. There's a lot of tickets that change hands because
But this is
people break
everybody.
legs, arms, have kids, drop out because of finances and stuff. And there's a lot of them right now. Also, there was the org reorganized how they were giving out tickets. Like we're a small camp. Like we said we were going to be 15 people, and we got
What, like 30 allocated?
6 tickets.
Oh, 6.
We got 6 tickets and 6 vehicle passes. We were in good standings. We got almost half our tickets.
That's nice. So
Direct sales.
I also heard that they were really cracking down on plug and plays this year, which is fucking good. For those that don't know, plug and plays are camps that sell all-inclusive tickets for you to come and have dinner and be in an RV and be taken care of the entire time. Like, it's super frowned upon. You're supposed to work. You're supposed to participate, and that is the opposite of working and participating. It's usually people with lots of money, celebrities, rich people, but the fact that Burning Man org is like really cracking down on that is actually a sign of the time. Like, they finally have been listening that this has been going on. And then I think hauling the truck thing really was like the nail in the coffin, because you can't have trucking services haul in your shit anymore. You have to bring it yourself.
There's a huge part of the culture and what makes that city so special and why people get so emotionally tied up in that city is the fact that we all build it. It's hard. Everybody's in, like, it's these things that make it magical are like you have to plan. Like, this is not, you don't see a lot of really, it's one of my favorite things because you don't see a lot of like tweens partying out there in the desert because it's a high bar to clear. So you have to think about how you're going to get there. You have to source tickets, which is probably one of the harder things to do, right? You got to plan all your equipment, like how you getting water. Me and Noelle took 500 pounds worth of water out last year, and that was just for me and her.
Right.
That's a lot. Like,
did you end up coming home with any? No. There was one year. One year I went out,
gave it away
with 2 people, and we ran out of water within the first 4 days because it was a hotter year. Well, no, it's fine because I was buying ice every day. I was buying 2 bags of ice every day and throwing it in the cooler, so I was making water. It's not the best, but as long as we kept our hands out of it, it was good enough to drink, and that's what we were doing. So like, there are options. At least you can buy ice. I think it's also important to mention that the crime in Black Rock City is, while it's less than a lot of crime that happens in a major city, crime still happens. Like, there are sexual assault cases. You still have to protect yourself. Like, you still have to make sure that you are looking out for you in a situation like that. And that's why the law enforcement is there. You know, obviously don't openly be stupid about shit, but like, the law enforcement is there to help protect you in a situation like that. So if something like that happens to you on the playa, go directly to a ranger who can direct you to law enforcement. So
Rangers, for those that don't know, are a bunch of burners that are experienced. You have to do 3 years as a burner, and then you have to go through a bunch of courses that include like interaction between citizens of Black Rock City and law enforcement, first aid, you know, conflict resolution, all that sort of stuff. And they are specifically there to be the buffer that can deal with some problems, and then if needs be the go between citizens of Black Rock City and law enforcement, so that your rights are protected,
right.
and that everything, hopefully everything comes to a positive resolution. That's what they are. And then you'll see them walking around the desert, and a lot of khaki. Always have big hats. They have walkie-talkies. They will all have
fully taking care of themselves.
Yeah, backpacks with like little bears, like stuffed bears hanging off them, and they deal with some
heavy stuff. I was there with a couple of rangers, had to talk a couple of people out of porta potties. I had to pick somebody up off the ground in front of our camp one time who was so dehydrated, and you knew he was partying for like 3 days. I was like, he's been just drinking. There was no water in his system. Like, and then I saw a ranger come up and just put a whole mouthful of salt in his mouth. Just eat this. Yeah. Like, just to try to, so just to get them to a medic booth or whatever. Just, you know, it's crazy. Like, rangers they have a lot of work to do. And I thought about doing it, but it's terrifying that somebody's life would be in my hands. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's like, I don't know that I could be responsible for something like that, because I think I would be, I would never live it down if something happened to somebody, you know?
Okay. So in our camp, we have, on the regular, we have medical professionals.
Right.
So, right. We have,
like, I am not. So like, that scares the shit out of me.
You usually offload that stuff to them. They don't generally like working, but like, so this year we will have 2 nurses. We have an ER nurse, like a managerial nurse, and then we have a full doctor. I don't think he's a GP. I forgot what his specialty is, but last year though, very similar situation. We had somebody ride up on a bike, just the cutest little sparkle pony. He was just the tiniest little twink boy with like a rubber feather shoulder pads, the tiniest little sparkle thong on a bike, and he was headed from into the center of the city. No water bottle in sight, and it's the height of the day where it's like just cooking you hot.
When you see them, they just like go like this on their bike. That's like the worst. Is that where? Yeah. Oh, they do the little way and then boop. And it's like, fuck.
Mountain bikers will call it the egg beater when they're working. They like overcorrect too much and they're like across the playa. So he came into our camp and was like, I'm just getting some shade. And the nurses clocked him right off the bat and was like, you need water. Went and got water, went and got some salt, like, here, sit down, have this. And he's like, yeah, we packed as much water into him. And he's like, sitting there in our camp, and the nurses are doing nurse thing midday. We're like, one of them looks at me and was like, we should probably go get a ranger. Like, this is something I see come into the ER. And we're like, before he could do that, and he's like, no, it's fine. I just need to do another bump of ketamine, and then I can make it all the way across the city to the other side of the city. I'm like, and the nurse is like, no, none of that, please. No, don't do that. That is not what you need. What you need is more water and some pickles. Let's have some pickles. And
pickles are safe. Drugs. They're good. They're friendly. They're green.
Ketamine is just going to make your body think you can, because he was going the long way. We were on the 3 o'clock side, so he was going to go all the way across open playa to like the 10 o'clock side. Thankfully, he he drank a lot
Stopped
of
with
water,
you.
and then it was like, I'm gonna go. And up the street from us through was going past first aid and the Rangers. And we wobbled towards the Ranger, and then you could see the like quintessential tattooed punk, long beard, utilikill Ranger came out
Stopped
from the
him.
road and was like, stopped him. We're like, okay, you're good now.
Good.
You're
Yeah.
good.
I love the
But
Rangers. They're such a really great mix of people. Like honestly.
I've got a I
That's
got a good
scary.
touchy-feely story for you.
Mm-hmm.
So every year at Burn, it's a big emotional thing. I did not grow up in a household that was it was like men don't share their feelings.
That's everywhere.
We don't cry.
That's everywhere.
This is yeah, Roman Catholic, like men don't share their feelings. So when I got to Playa and invested in this culture, it's like the only place I cried, not because it's definitely a safe place, but just feeling other people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, I didn't cry at the temple. Usually I cry at the temple, just sitting there and feeling everybody's dealing with their stuff wash over me, and I like have a good boo, and it's the best. Super cathartic. And then I go off and go partying some more. That year I didn't. And there was a lot of drama in that year's burn. It was problematic, and I was like, why do we even do this? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Why is this? Why do we put this effort in? There's so much that I don't want to do here anymore. We were leaving temple, and Noelle's like, hey, do you want to get a drink before we go back to camp, before we go back and deal with whatever's happening? I said, sure, let's go. We rode into the city and we got to Ranger Outpost Tokyo, which, for those that don't know, is on like the 10 o'clock side. And this is a Ranger Outpost. There's 3 of them amongst the city. They're in.
It's Tokyo, Shanghai, and I feel like Godzilla's one of them. I don't know.
Godzilla.
I'm gonna look up. Hold on.
Shanghai, Tokyo. You can Google it. So we roll in, and Tokyo, I think, is the only Ranger outpost that runs a bar, and they do it for their own fun. Because Rangers, like when people are out there, people have full on existential crisis. Like it's a very common story for people to go out there and realize that they're gay and they're in a straight relationship with kids, and they don't know how they're going to go home and tell their partner that they've realized they're gay. Like that's a very
It's
it's
really
a
an eye-opening life lesson learning place.
sound like cultists. We sound like
For sure.
nutballs in a
Yeah,
cult
but I mean,
talking like
we
this.
do. But at the same time, like, I can't imagine realizing something like that about myself, like just in the
Be
middle of
tough.
nowhere. Yeah, like that with all of that baggage, or not,
In
well,
this crazy party setting.
right.
It's,
Okay, sorry.
so
Sorry.
Rangers will help people through these experiences, sending them to Zendo or first aid or whatever, and they deal with this, which some of that sticks to you. So it can be a
Hmm.
very heavy night. It's like, being a paramedic or like just this dealing with this stuff. So we get to this bar, early morning, the sun's coming up. We're gonna, have this drink, relax, and then go back to camp. And we get to this bar, and there is whiskey breakfast going on.
Oh,
It's
well,
consisted of 2 Rangers, these big burly dudes. One of them is covered in like if you described this guy many times today, but like shaved head, a goatee, insane clown posse tattoos.
oh,
And he's
perfect.
wearing like a maxi dress around his waist. So there's like that
Was it floral print?
dichotomy.
Please tell me it was floral print.
I think it was like hot pink or purple or something,
Perfect.
but they're great in the sun. Just for those that don't know,
Yeah.
um, and they are blaring the hair metal like Def Leppard, like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, like all the classics, really loud. This is like 6 in the morning, so people are still trying to sleep, and they're just cranking the tunes and like, fuck
That's when
you,
you
get
go to
over
bed.
here, have some whiskey for breakfast, fuck you, this, that, come on, let's go, woo! And they are partying because they have had a really hard night and they want to blow off some steam. And he's going to
Mhm.
get a good solid buzz on, and then he's going to go to bed. That's what
So you
he's
can
going
do
to
it
do.
all again tomorrow.
So he can do it all again tomorrow. And him and his partner and some of the other Rangers like kind of annoyed because he's now annoying their neighbors and stuff, which you were allowed to do at Black Rock.
Right.
No point. and this huge, scary looking, like if he was a Hell's Angels, I would not be surprised. Like a proper biker is there, and we connect with him. We're just like, yeah, you know, there's just having a tough time, and he's like, "Oh, you guys seem great," and he's like, and he at one point, because I go by Twig on the playa, I made a light criticism of my drink that he poured me because it was very heavy on whiskey, and it's like early in the morning, late at night, depending on which you're looking at.
No.
And I was like, "Shut the fuck up, little stick!" And he's like, I'll never forget that. And then at one point, he decided that we were friends, and he's like, "Let me tell you a story." And he points this huge-looking dude, ominous-looking dude, points over to an effigy on their radio tower to another
Mhm.
ranger that had died that year. This full, like the picture of her was like, well, stereotype somebody again. Like she looked like out on the playa like a proper leather dyke, like a
Right.
black leather dyke, like very opposite. Like in those two, in the normal society, these two would have not socialized very much, or very
Not at all.
unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
Two different
I'm saying it
bars.
can't happen.
Two
Two,
different
yeah, just
bars.
two different bars. Leather Dyke Bar, Insane Clown Posse, Hell's Angels Bar. Two different
Two
bars.
different bars.
But they had he's like, "This is my friend. I rangered with her for like years. I think it was like 6 or 7 years. This is my best friend. She lost the battle to cancer."
Oh wow.
Right? And I'm gonna get teared up just
I
thinking
know.
about
I'm
this.
like, you're getting me teared up.
He's like, "I came out every year. We'd spend a month together. This is my best friend." He starts crying. This
Big dude.
like
Yeah. Scary dude.
scary looking masculine guy is breaking down at the bar sharing the story about how they were best friends. And I was like, in that moment, I was like, that's why I love this place.
Hmm.
Those two would have probably never met.
No.
And in this place,
They
this
came together and
whatever this thing,
became
they came together and they became like good, like most people don't have friends that have lasted like 6 years, let alone willing to live in the desert with them, deal with some very serious human emotions in the desert, but come from two totally different worlds. And they were
right.
like best friends. Like that's why this place is special to me.
That just that stuff alone really makes me go, okay, this is why I do all of this hard shit, and I force myself to do all of this hard shit because I see stuff like that, and I'm just like, this is a real human place. Like this is a place where we can all connect on a level that we don't get to connect on in the daily life. Like daily life society has so many boundaries and so many different things that we're unable to do from like a connection standpoint just as humans. So when there's you can actually just have like a real conversation with somebody who you would never talk to, like ever,
Mm,
it makes it all worth it. 100%.
mm, mm.
So it's
Yeah,
wild.
that's that's where the beginnings of making our own camp. I was like, well, if that's important to me, how do I facilitate that? I'm like, running a bar at Burning Man, connecting on some sort of level. What kind of level do we want to connect on? Like, there's not enough nerds on Playa. Let's do nerd stuff. Because, like, for the rest of the year, I spend like 2 or 3 days a week playing D&D. I'm like, yeah, I want to meet more nerds that are also burners on the Playa. And it just kind of took off from there. Now, we on our street, we became, because of our nature and all of that, we became a bit of a queer hub on our block, which made me really happy.
Were
So there
you in
was
the
a lot of
neighborhood?
like, we were on the opposite side of the city. Like
Okay.
up the street, there was a bar where if we'll give you a drink if you throw your bra over the frames of our bar, and down here there was just a proper like bro raver camp and stuff, and we became this like it was pretty obvious. A lot
Your
of
little
rainbows all over
oasis.
camp, a lot of yeah, a little queer oasis. So we had like
Mm-hmm.
the non-binary folk and the queer folk coming and hanging out at our bar because a nerd and queer, those Venn
Kind of overlap.
diagrams,
They
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 overlap.
overlap a lot.
That made us super happy.
Well,
So,
I hate to cut us off because this is such a great conversation. We've been going forever.
mhm.
Where can people find you and your camp online?
Oh, we don't actually have a presence online, believe it or not. But you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm Michael Twigg on Facebook. I use my full name, and
Oh
I
wow,
am
scary.
the.stinky.wizard on Instagram.
All right.
We are
Camp
Level
Level Up.
Up Bar.
Are you still looking for members?
Not right now. We've closed membership for this year, but just because we've let
5 minutes left before burn.
Yeah, we're in the 11th hour for sure. So sending
Right.
anybody else to the camp would be problematic. But next year, if you want to be a nerd on the playa, we are that camp.
For sure.
We can have a conversation.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming by the Coffin Lounge today. I appreciate you talking to me about one of my passions. And I'm so glad that so many more people are passionate about the burn. You're welcome to come back by and talk about your experience when you come back from the playa this year.
We'll do it again next year, right before burn.
Nice. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for coming by the Coffin Lounge. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify and iTunes as well as YouTube. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great one. Bye.